Good evening. So I'm settling down for sleep now, and I've cleaned my face and brushed my teeth, and I had therapy today. So that was really good, actually. Usually on a Wednesday, I have to come upstairs here to my room to do my therapy by Zoom. Reason being is I need a little bit of privacy, and it's a bit full on if someone's just coming home at that point and in the middle of it all. So that's usually what happens, because today we worked on how I get really triggered and jolted by, especially recently, men's sexualization or sexual interest, or just looking at my chest area, things like that, not listening to what I have to say, things that women experience all the time, and I'm not exaggerating. Kind of earlier in transition, when I was in Kolkata, I felt really buoyant because I was hanging out with a lot of people from the trans community, people who are really smart, creative, lots of trans masc and some trans femme. Made some really great friends, and just queer friends in general. And anyway, I was staying in Ballygunge, and I think I mentioned this in another video. I was kind of stalked by a young man, first in the street, and then he followed me into the restaurant, and he was kind of propositioning me, and I was trying to tell him no, so he wouldn't take no for an answer, and basically he got up and left, but I didn't know that he was waiting for me to leave so he could follow me, and he was doing it on his motorbike, and it was really creepy, and I kept saying no, but he kept following me, and all I could think of was, I've got to get somewhere safe and away from the street, not be visible, and do that so he doesn't know where I'm going. And so I got a side street, and I managed to shake him off, and I went back to the place I was staying and locked the doors and lay down, and just felt really jolted and quite traumatized by it all. I did chat to a friend of mine, a female friend, and she helped me put some of it in perspective. But over the preceding days as well, I did get other kinds of attention from men that I never used to get pre-transition, because I'd been to Kolkata 3 times. And the third time was when I was already a few months into transition. And people were perceiving me, maybe not always as a woman, but sometimes. And yeah, it's just a new-ish experience. I have experienced gendered violence and sexualization in other ways, especially as a young person, but not in recent years. And I think that a lot of the time, my not wanting to embrace openly my transness and embody it is because of the sense of risk. I'm a realist in that sense, and I have 4 sisters, and we talk about these things, whether it be transphobic or misogynistic violence, or a combination of both. As a woman or feminine person in the world, men see us as likely prospects. They don't really see us in any other term, and that can be sometimes mixed in with revulsion or hate. So it's not straightforward desire, right? It's an attempt to dominate what you see as weak and inferior. And I feel like that has been something that I've been made to feel, including from my early adverse childhood experiences, which I won't go into detail right now. But anyway, apart from the occurrences in India, and I don't want to stereotype India or Indian men, because it could have happened here. Indeed, I had another incident, and it was not on the street, it was in a classroom, and a male student who had never engaged me in this way before, came up and asked for some advice for his upcoming assignment, and instead of actually paying attention to what I was saying, what was coming out of my mouth, he kept looking at my chest, inspecting it, and then his eyes would drift back up to my mouth and then drift back down to the chest. And I felt like that was putting me right back in that space. That men can try to bend reality into their own interest, their curiosity, their sexual desire, whatever you want to call it. These are all inadequate terms. But that's the last thing I want. This is also someone that I felt like respected me, and I respected them as a good student prior to this. And it just made me feel like I was cornered. So I had to really process that. A friend pointed out that women do that as well. It's not just men. But I don't feel the same threat, right, from women. Maybe there's some curiosity. Maybe they're just sort of comparing themselves to you or trying to work things out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in their heads, but it's not a kind of objectifying feeling. And in the whole transition thing, I have to be a realist and aware of the fact that this is going to happen. And I have to know how to respond. That's not just fight or flight or freeze, actually. Because that's what I've always done. Freeze. Wait till it's over. Because it really messes with my head. And so we worked on that in therapy today. It was very effective. It gave a lot of insight. It also helped me to be able to experience those emotions, because I tend to block them out because of fear. I don't want to walk the world in fear. So many women do. And again, like, there has to be a level of realism. But like in those moments, I feel like, is it me? Should I be covered up? Is it my body? Is it my fault? And I can't believe where these thoughts came and come from. But it does come from forms of gender violence and sexualization as a child as well. It just really struck me how warped that all is. And also how difficult I find men. You know, some of you out there will think, well, why do you find them difficult? Because you are one. Look, you can have your opinion. I don't care if you see me as a weird bloke, as someone said in a comment. I know what and who I am, because I've lived a long time and had a lot of time to work this out. But part of my transition is to give up the fear and give up the stigma and say that I actually have the right to exist as I am, rather than develop a carapace, you know, to ward off the threats and the violence that I've, unfortunately, and I'm sorry if this is triggering, but that I have experienced from an early age. I haven't necessarily had violent relationships as an adult with other men, but men have particular ideas and particular ways of sexualizing all of the time, and it's always felt like a foreign language to me. I sometimes think that men are capable of sexualizing anything. I'm not the only person who thinks or says that. There's some evidence to it. Are women the same? Maybe some. But I just don't feel... It's that sense of shame and lack of safety that comes up again and again. And I've got to find a way through it. I've got to find a path that's not just about, like, rolling over and going to freeze or even flight. Actually have to be able to have some control over the situation and push back. Not necessarily fight. But today, like, I kind of visualized, like, actually physically taking someone on, and it made me think, well, what would I do in a circumstance that just seemed to escalate, right? Where, for example, with that Indian guy, I kept saying no. What would happen if it went further than that? And how would I cope with that? How would I not just get out of the situation, but stop it from happening? It's a question of power. And I feel more equilibrium with women. The only thing that made me feel kind of more calm and safe and good is that later on in the day I went briefly to the chemist, and the person at the cashier, the person at the cash register, was very lovely to me, and she was actually kind of flirting, and like in a very subtle way. But I have moments like that with women, and it's not aggressive, and I feel something. I feel a frisson, a current. It's very different from what I would sometimes try to feel and connect over with men in the past, like when I had relationships or encounters. It's always such a different order, and even my body seems to respond differently now. And I won't go into all the gory details, but it's more like it's like a current, and it's pretty unmistakable. I mean, I don't know what she was seeing in me. Maybe just someone that she found interesting. But it was really sweet, and I really need more of that in my life, and to be able to express it. Just don't think I can be really attracted to a man or with a man. And it has kind of surprised me in that sense, because just the way I feel about my sexuality is really different now, but also I think healthier and more congruent and promising. So I still have issues with my body, and I'm still early in the transition, and so I'm reticent to have such a like a physical relationship, because I feel uncomfortable and I feel dysphoria with my body. But I know that a lot of women have issues with their own bodies at times, and that there's something healing about different forms of intimacy as well, and it's really missing in my life. My psychologist said, when you have these moments where you gotta go somewhere safe and you gotta escape, it's good that you go and listen to some meditative music and lie down to calm your nervous system. But where's the touch? And I thought, exactly, where is the touch? She says you can self-hug. You can anchor back into your body good feelings. Because instead of my body being like this field of disgust or shame or potential sexualization and harassment, it can actually be a positive, the generation of positive experiences. So maybe I can just start there. I said to her, maybe I can, in addition to the finding the safe space, run a bubble bath, go into the bath, burn some essential oils, and embrace myself in the warm water. I don't do enough of that kind of stuff, even for myself and for self-care. But somehow I feel like the path back to my body, myself, and love and affection and physical contact is going to be by opening myself up, hopefully in the future, to a relationship, and with someone that gets this stuff, but someone that's also a woman. Anyway, them's a lot of topics, and I'm looking tired, so let me know your thoughts, your own experiences, including with transition and sexuality and overcoming trauma. I know they're difficult topics.